day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's geography lesson. My name is Nomthandazo Malembe. This lesson is brought to you by the Northern Cape Department of Education in collaboration with Pagama Research and Development. So today, learners, we are focusing on our paper 1 revision. But before we start with our revision, I just want us to go through our lesson objective. By the end of this lesson, learners, you should be able to identify the structure for paper 1 and also to focus on the following topics. We're going to look at the climate and weather questions. We'll be looking at your geomorphology questions as well as your map work questions. So to further break down our paper 1, your mark allocation in your question paper is 150, and also the time allocated or your duration is 3 hours. And your question paper consists of 2 sections, which is your section A as well as your section B. Under your section A, you will get 2 questions, your question 1 and your question 2. And under your section B, it's only 1 question, which is your question 3. So your question 1, you should expect questions from your climate and weather questions. And your question 2, you should expect questions from your geomorphology. And your question 3, you should expect questions from your map work. So to further break down the questions, as we've said, in your section A, you will have your question 1 as well as your question 2. So under your question 1, as we've already said, that there will be climate and weather questions. So the examiner can pick any questions from your mid-latitude cyclone, your tropical cyclone, your subtropical anticyclone, as well as your valley climate. Your questions will come as figures. Figure 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, and 1.5. Under your figure 1.1 and 1.2, it's where you should expect questions from the short objective questions. Your short objective questions, these are your one-word questions. They may come as a multiple choice where you are given 4 responses to choose from. They may come as where you're supposed to choose the correct term in the bracket, or they may come as your column A and your column B. Remember, your column A and your column B, you are now given 2 options to choose from. It's either from X to Y or Y to Z. Then those are your short objective questions. Then remember, if your figure 1.1 has 7 questions, it means your figure 1.2 will have 8 questions, so that altogether will give you 15 marks. Then after that, you will have your figure 1.3, 1.4, and 1.5. Each of these figures carries 15 marks. So amongst those questions, you will have one with a paragraph question. Then you move to your question 2. Under your question 2, that's where you should expect questions from your geomorphology. Again, the format is still the same. You will have your 2.1, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5. Your 2.1 and 2.2, again, this is where you should expect your short objective questions, your one-word answers, multiple choice, or from the bracket, or column A and column B. Then you move to question or to figure 2.3, 2.4, 2.5. Like in question 1, you only have 1 paragraph question, then the rest of the questions will come as your 2 times 2 or your 3 times 2. Then you move to your section B. Under section B, it's question 3. Your question 3, it carries the questions based on your map work. So your map work, it's 30 marks. The further breakdown of these 30 marks, you will have the figure 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3. Under your figure 3.1, it's where you should expect questions from your map skills as well as your calculation. Altogether, they give you 10 marks. Then you move to your figure 3.2. Your figure 3.2, it's your map interpretation. You're going to interpret what we have learned in the climate and weather and what we have learned in geomorphology, interpreting in the map. So it carries 12 marks. Then lastly, it's your 3.3. Your figure 3.3, it has your GIS questions, and your GIS questions carries 8 marks. Again, the examiner can pick any concept under your GIS, and you're supposed to answer those questions. So altogether, it's 30 marks. So it's 60 marks from your question 1, 60 marks from your question 2, and 30 marks from your question 3. That gives you a total of 150. So we're going to go through the examination tips. So these are the tips that you're supposed to use during the exam time. So you will be given a 10-minute reading time. Remember, in that 10-minute reading time, you are not supposed to write or calculate or draw anything, but you need to go through the question paper. So you need to start by reading the information as well as instruction on your page 2. That's where the examiner will be reminding you on the question paper, and also what you're supposed to get in question 1, what you're supposed to get in question 2, and some of the general rules that you're supposed to do or not do in the exam. They will also tell you the map that you will be using, and also to remind you, especially in the calculation, that you shouldn't miss the calculations as well as the units. So again, it is important to read through those general information on your page 2. And then after that, when you are now in the actual question paper, this is the time whereby now you are reading through from your question 1, question 2, question 3. So you will need to start by reading the instructions first. So if the question is saying referring to figure 1.1 based on mid-latitude cyclone, then you know that the questions that you'll be expecting will be from the mid-latitude cyclone. So it is important that you read the instructions carefully. And also, I've already mentioned that you need to use your 10-minute reading time. Start to read with the instruction and information, and then after, read through the question paper. Make sure that you read the questions twice before you even answer. So as we are reading the question twice, it's where you want to gain a lot of understanding. What is the question all about? Do not rush to answer. Remember, you have 3 hours. In that 3 hours, it's 3 questions. It means 1 hour per question. So make sure that you take your time, read the question, make sure that you understand the question before you start answering. Also, underline the keywords. This is from 9 o'clock up until. Underline the keywords as well as the action word. When we are saying the keyword, if the question is saying state or name, you are expected to give one answer. But if the question is saying suggest, account, or describe, explain, that's where you're supposed to give a full explanation. And then also make sure that you take note of mark allocation. Why? Because some of the questions, they will just give you a question, account for the formation of cumulonimbus cloud, without telling you how many responses. Then you will give one response, where else you're supposed to give 3 or 2. Remember your mark allocation, if it's saying 2 times 2, that means you're supposed to give 2 responses. If it's 3 times 2, you're supposed to give 3 responses so that you can get the full mark. Then again, you need to study the resources that you are given in terms of the diagram as well as the infographic. It can also assist you in answering, because some of the questions will say refer to the infographic or refer to the diagram. That's where the answer it will be. Then we have come to an end of our examination tips. So let us go through our revision. Your question 1, the questions will be based on your climate and your weather questions. So like I've said, you need to start with the instruction. It's saying refer to the sketches on the mid-latitude cyclone. So you are given a plane view, you are given a cross section. So it is the sketches. In that plane view, we realize there is 2 front there, or actually 3. There is one label A, and there is another one labeled B, and there is another one labeled C, and then we realize that we have a station model there, and there is a warm sector, and there is a cold sector. Then going through them, cross-section, it is Y. It's supposed to be an occlusion, but is it a cold occlusion or is it a warm occlusion? And then you are given Z also. In that cross-section, you realize the cloud type there. So it's supposed to tell you something. So again, let us go through the questions. In our question, we are given the first question 1.3.1. Name. We said you need to underline the keyword, which is name. So therefore, you cannot give a full explanation because you need to name. It's just one. And also looking at the mark allocation, it's 1 times 1. So name the wind belt that causes the easterly movement of the mid-latitude cyclone. So we are looking at the wind belt that will cause this easterly movement. Then you refer to the plane view, which is this one. In that plane view, identify the front A. Hence, I've said there's a front labeled A, there's a front labeled B, and there's a front labeled C. So you identify the front labeled A 1 times 1. Then you 1.3.3, identify or 1.3.3, which one of front A or B is moving faster? So which one? Another 1 times 1, which means it's one answer that will give you 1 mark. Is it A or is it B that is moving faster? Then your 1.3.4, you need to give a reason. If you are saying it's A that is moving faster, what is the reason? If you are saying B, and what is the reason? Then the next of the question, you refer to the sketches on the mid-latitude cyclone. So these are the sketches on the mid-latitude cyclone. 1.3.5, give evidence from the sketch that the mid-latitude cyclone is found in the southern hemisphere. So as we are give evidence, it's a 1 times 2. So give evidence from the sketch that the mid-latitude cyclone is found in the southern hemisphere. And then you refer to the cold front occlusion at C. So the cold front occlusion at C and the cross-section. Your 1.3.6a, which one of the cross-section, Y or Z? Remember such questions, you're not supposed to answer yes or no, but you need to choose, is it Y or is it Z? Which one of the cross-section, Y or Z, represent the cold front occlusion at C? So which one? Just one answer that will give you 2 marks. Then B, give evidence that C is a cold front occlusion. So what evidence that C, it is indeed a cold front occlusion? Then C, explain how the cold front occlusion developed. Explain. So there you are supposed to give. And then 1.3.6c, explain how the cold front occlusion developed. So 2 times 2. Looking at the mark allocation, you're supposed to give 2 responses. So now that we have went through the questions, you will now be in a position to answer. So you're going to answer the first 4 questions and then you do the rest. Then do not forget to write down your responses so that it can be easier when you are doing the correction, so that you can mark yourself and see where you went wrong and which one you got it correct. So I'm going to give you 6 minutes for these 4 questions, and then after 6 minutes, we will proceed to the next questions before we start with our corrections. So your 6 minutes starts now. Right? I believe that we are all done. So our next question is question 1.3.5 up to question 1.3.6c. So I'm going to give you another 6 minutes, and then after 6 minutes, we'll then proceed to our solutions. As we are doing our solutions, please do not forget to mark yourself so that you can see which questions you got them correct and which questions you got them wrong. Our first question, you name the wind belt. You name the wind belt causes the easterly movement of the mid-latitude cyclone. So we are looking at the westerly wind belt. So it's the westerlies. Then at 1.3.2, you were supposed to refer to the plane view. Then number one, you identify the front labeled A. So the front labeled A, looking at the symbol, it is a cold front. Then number three, which one of fronts, A or B, is moving faster? You will remember that the cold front is faster than the warm front. So therefore, it is front A. Then 1.3.4, give a reason. Why are you saying the cold front is moving faster than the warm front? So you will remember that the wind speed that is behind the cold front is faster because it has a deadly north. So it means there is a strong wind there. Then the wind speed behind the warm front, it is slower. You will remember there is a 10 knots, which means the wind is decreasing, or because of there is a warm front, so the wind is slower. And also ahead of the cold front, you will remember that the warm air is less, or it is dense, or it is lighter. So that's the reason why it is moving faster. It's because of the wind speed that is behind the cold front. Then we're looking at our 1.3.5. Give evidence from the sketch that mid-latitude cyclone is found in the southern hemisphere. Then you need to refer to the cold front of the occlusion C as well as the cross section. Number one, we're looking at the clockwise circulation of air, as you can see the arrows, or you're looking at the position of the low pressure to the south of the system. Remember the low pressure there. And then we're also looking at the warm sector as well as the cold front is in the north. So any of the three. Then your 1.3.6, which one of the cross section, Y or Z, represent the cold front occlusion at C? We are looking at Z. So Z is the one that is representing a cold front at C. Remember why there is a cold front occlusion? It's because you're looking at the front that is touching the surface. The symbol there, it's a cold front. So that makes it a cold front occlusion. Then number B, you give evidence that C is a cold front occlusion. The air behind the cold front is colder than the cooler air in the front of the warm front. And also the cold front, it uplifts the warm front, and the cumulonimbus cloud are evident. Remember the cumulonimbus cloud there, it is evident. So therefore, that makes it an evidence of indeed it is a cold front. Then we're looking at our next question, which is 1.3.6c. Explain how the cold front occlusion developed. Number one, the cold front, which is moving faster, already you know that the cold front, it is faster than the warm front. So what happens is it moving faster, it's then undercut or overtake the warm front. So you can see that in this question, there was a part marking. So by writing that the cold front, which is moving faster, undercut or overtake that one mark, the warm front, then you have the full mark. Then also, you can say, because it is 2 times 2, the warm air is forced to rise. Remember, as the cold front is undercutting or is overtaking, it will then lift the warm air to rise. So therefore, the warm air is forced to rise, which is 1 mark, resulting in the narrowing of the warm sector. That is why we are saying the warm sector is narrower than the cold sector, or the cold sector is larger than the warm sector. Then We're looking at our next question. It is based on the anticyclone. You will remember that the anticyclone is one of the topics under your climate and weather. So refer to the diagram which shows the anticyclones over South Africa. You choose the correct word from those given in the brackets. So we are given these three high pressure cells. You need to identify what pressure cell is at A and what high pressure cell is at C and what is high pressure cell is at B, so that you can be able to answer some of the questions. Then your 1.1.1, the pressure cell A is situated further north or south in winter. Your pressure cell A, we're looking at where is it situated in winter. Then your 1.1.2, the pressure cell AB is named the South Atlantic or South Indian high pressure cell. We are looking at the name of this pressure cell B. Then your 1.1.3, when isobars are elongated away from the pressure cell AB, they form, is it a ridge or is it a trough when they are elongated? Then your 1.1.4, the pressure reading at C is approximately, we're looking at C, the pressure reading. Is it 1012 hectopascal or is it 1016 hectopascal? Then the next question, the wind speed at weather station D. Here is our weather station D. Is it 20 knots or is it 10 knots? The wind speed. 1.1.6, the wind direction at weather station D. Is it a northeast or is it a northwest? Then your 1.1.7, the pressure cell ABC represent, is it the equatorial low or subtropical high pressure belt? So now that we have went through the questions, you will now be able to answer. So we're going to start with the first 4 questions. I'm going to give you 4 minutes, and then after 4 minutes, we'll then proceed to the next 3 questions. So your 4 minutes start now. Then our next question, which is your 1.1.5 to 1.1.7. I'm going to give you just 3 minutes, and then after 3 minutes, we will then be proceeding to our solutions. Right, grade 12, looking at our solutions. Remember again, as we are doing corrections, please make sure that you also mark your own work so that you can see how much or how many questions we have got correct and how many questions were incorrect. So your 1.1.1, the pressure cell A is situated further north or south in winter. You will remember that your South Atlantic is situated north in winter. Then 1.1.2, the pressure cell B named the South Atlantic or South Indian high pressure cell. We are looking at the pressure cell B, which is your South Indian high pressure. Your 1.1.3, when isobars are elongated away from the pressure cell B, they are ridging. You will remember that they form a ridge. Then your 1.1.4, the pressure reading at C is approximately 1016 hectopascal. So why 1016? You'll see that the difference between these two is 4. So from the 1008 as well as your 1012, your contour interval. Then when as soon as it reaches at C, you then add another 4. So therefore it's 1016. Then your 1.1.5, the wind speed at the weather station D, is it 20 knots or 10 knots? It is 10 knots. Remember, you are guided by this line. So if it's longer, it's 10, and if it's short, it's 15. So therefore, it can never be 20 knots. If it's 20 knots, it's supposed to be 2, so that it can make 20. So therefore, our answer is 10. All this is a grade 10 content, you remember. Then 1.1.6, the wind direction at weather station D, it is a northeast or a northwest. So again, you place your canvas and then you label, and then you label, you'll see that this is the direction. So hence our answer, it is your northwest. Then your 1.1.7, the pressure cell ABC represent the equatorial low or subtropical high pressure belt. It is representing your subtropical high pressure belt. Remember, these are the high pressure, so therefore it represents the subtropical. Then we're looking at our next question. In our next question, it's question 2. It's based on geomorphology. Again, the examiner can pick any topic as long as it's still under geomorphology. So here, you refer to figure 1.2 and give the correct letter or term that matches the geomorphological description in the following statement. So you are given the statement there. These are your drainage pattern. You need to identify your drainage pattern A, identify your drainage pattern B, identify your drainage pattern C, and identify your drainage pattern D, so that you can be able to match this description. Does it fall to a pattern A or pattern B or pattern C or pattern D? So remember, you are on the writing, is it A, B, C, or D? Given that you understand what is the description matches. So your 1.2.1, the drainage pattern at A. So the drainage pattern at A, you need to know the name. Then B, the drainage pattern where the mainstream has a 90-degree bend. So is it A, B, C, or D? You can also give the names of these patterns. Then number 3, the drainage pattern at B. What do we call this drainage pattern at B? Then your 1.2.4, the drainage pattern which forms on igneous rocks that has a joints and cracks. Is it A, is it B, is it C, or is it D? Then your 1.2.5, identify the drainage pattern which resembles the branches of a tree. Is it A, is it B, is it C, or is it D? And also you can write the names. Then your 1.2.6, you name the drainage pattern associated with your sedimentary rock of uniform resistance. Then your 1.2.7, the drainage pattern that develops on alternate layers of hard and soft rock. Then 1.2.8, the drainage pattern that will develop on a dome. So now that we have went through the questions, you will now be able to answer. So again, the important part is to identify these patterns first so that you can see which one matches which description. So you have 5 questions. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and then after that you do the next of the questions. So your 5 minutes starts now. Right? Girls and boys, our next question, our question 1.2.6 to 1.2.8. With this one, I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and then after 3 minutes, we will then be able to proceed to our solutions. Likewise, do not forget to write your responses down so that it can be easier when you are doing the correction. You will be able to mark yourself. Right? Looking there at our first question, the drainage pattern at A, it is a radial. Why are we saying it is a radial? Because we are given the arrows that shows that the water is flowing in different directions. Remember, that is a radial because it is influenced by the hilly landscape or by the steep gradient. Then water will be flowing in different directions. Then your 1.2.2, the drainage pattern where the stream has a 90-degree bend. It's a rectangular or it's C. Remember, all the tributaries, they bend at 90 degrees. And also, you're looking at the structure, it creates a shape like a brick wall. So all the streams, they are joining at a 90-degree angle or at a 90-degree bend. Then your drainage pattern at B, it is a trellis. Remember, a trellis, we are saying the main streams are parallel to each other, joined by the short streams. Then your 1.2.4, the drainage pattern which forms on the igneous rocks that has joints and cracks, that is your rectangular. Then your 1.2.5, identify the drainage pattern which resembles the branches of a tree. You will remember that is a dendritic or D because it has many tributaries. So it resembles, it looks like it's not branches of a tree, but it is resembles. Then 1.2.6, name the drainage pattern associated with sedimentary rock of uniform resistance. You will remember again that is a dendritic because of the uniform rock that are resistant to erosion. Then your 1.2.6, the drainage pattern that develops on alternate layers of hard and soft rock, that is your B, which is your trellis. You will remember that the mainstream, they flow in a hard rock, and your short streams, they flow in a soft rock that will be eroded. And then your 1.2.8, the drainage pattern that will develop on a dome, it will be A. Remember, a dome is part of a hill, so that the tributaries will flow in different directions. Then we're looking at our next question. It is still on geomorphology. You study the diagram showing the section of a river course and answer the questions that follow. So you remember that we've got the river course. It has 3 courses. So now you have A, you have your B, you have your C, you have your D. Remember, we said you need to go through the resources or the diagram that you are given first, so that you can be able to familiarize yourself what is happening in the diagram. And also, some of the answers will be in the diagram. And then, you know, by reading the instruction that the question it says, it's showing a section of a river course. The first question, you name the course of the river between A and C. Name the course between A and C. Then 2.2.2, does A indicate the source or the mouth of the river? So you need to choose, is it a source, is it a mouth? The answer is not a yes, it's not a no, but you need to identify, is it a source or is it a mouth that is indicated by A? And then your 2.2.3, you name the type of erosion at B. You're looking at the section of a river, at which course, and then you know that what type of an erosion is happening in that course. Then you name the fluvial picture at C. Again, you're looking at C as well as the course of the river at C, and what fluvial picture you will get at C. Then the next question, you name the slope that has formed in the outer bank at D. The slope that has formed on the outer bank at D. As you can see, there is an outer bank at D. What do we call that? A slope. Then your 2.2.7, will the river have a graded or an ungraded river profile. So now that you have went through the questions, even during the exam, you need to analyze the questions first before you start answering. So you have the first 4 questions. I'm going to give you 4 minutes, and then after 4 minutes, we will proceed to the next of the questions. Likewise, don't forget to write your answers down so that it will be easy when you are doing the corrections. You will be able to mark yourself. So your 4 minutes start now. Right, girls and boys? So the next question, you have your question 2.6 as well as your question 2.2.7. I'm going to give you just 2 minutes, and then after 2 minutes, we'll be able to share the corrections or the solutions. Right, our first question then, as you're supposed to name the course of the river between A and C. So between A and C, you realize that this is during the upper course. Remember, the river has 3 courses. It's the upper course, it's the middle course, as well as your lower course. So it is an upper course. Then 2.2.2, does A indicate the source or the mouth of the river? Remember, the river begins at the source and ends at the mouth. So therefore, A indicates a source. Then your 2.2.3, you name the type of erosion at B. The type of erosion at B, remember B, it's still within the upper course. So there is a vertical or a downward erosion. Then your 2.2.4, you name the flyval feature at C. The flyval feature at C, remember, it is still within the upper course. So what do we get? We get a waterfall or a rapids. Then your 2.2.5, what type of erosion takes place at C? The type of erosion there, it is a headward erosion. Then you're looking at your 2.2.6, you name the slope that has formed on the outer bank of the slope. You'll remember that it is an undercut because it's an outer a bank. Then in the inner bank, that's where it is your slip off. Then your 2.2.7, will the river have a graded or an ungraded river profile? Remember, because of the need points, your waterfall, your rapids, then the river will have an ungraded river profile. Then we still under question 2, your geomorphology questions. Likewise, you study the figure 1.2 based on the river system. The river system, we are given A, we are given B, we are given C, we are given a need point as well as the C, as well as the sand deposits. So let's see what questions do we have. The first question, 1.2.1, you name the drainage pattern in the upper course of the river in the area A. The drainage pattern. So in the upper course, they already told you this is the upper course, which means there will be a middle course as well as the lower course. So what pattern is in the upper course in the area A? Secondly, you name the underlying rock structure. So you name the underlying rock structure likely to be found in area A. What is the underlying rock structure there? Then your 1.2.3, is area a catchment area or a mouth of a river? Then number 4, 1.2.4, you state the type of erosion that causes deep valleys in area A. Then the next of the question, you have 1.2.5 to 1.2.7. Your 1.2.5, you name a natural feature that forms at a midpoint in area B, what natural feature will it formed in area B? Then 1.2.6, in which course of the river does deposition dominate? Is it the lower course, upper course, or it's the middle course? Then your 1.2.7, you name the landform that is likely to form from the sand deposits at the river mouth. So now that we have went through the questions, you will now be able to answer. You have the first 4 questions. I'm going to give you 4 minutes, and then after that 4 minutes, we will then be proceeding so that we can do our corrections. Likewise, do not forget to write your responses down. So your 4 minutes starts now. Right, our next questions, we have our 1.2.5 to 1.2.7. I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and then after 3 minutes, you will be able to do our solutions. Likewise, don't forget to write your responses down so that you can be able to mark yourself when we are doing the solutions or the corrections. Right, girls and boys, looking at our first question, you are supposed to name the drainage pattern in area A. You will see that there are many tributaries or streams in that area A, so therefore it is a dendritic. Then your 1.2.2, you name the underlying rock structure likely to be found in area A. Remember, because of the dendritic, so therefore we are looking at the rocks that are uniform to erosion or resistant to erosion. So the rocks of a uniform resistance to erosion. Then your 1.2.3 is area a catchment area or a mouth. So remember, all the rivers, it begins at the source, which is the upper course. So therefore, it becomes a catchment because that is where the rain will fall, and that is where the river or the tributary will start. Then your 1.2.4, you state the type of erosion that causes a deep valley in the areas. This is a vertical or a downward erosion. Then your 1.2.5, you name the natural feature that forms at a midpoint in area B. Remember, that will be your rapids or your waterfall. Then your 1.2.6, in which course of the river does deposition dominate? Remember, deposition dominates in the lower course because in the upper course and middle course, the river is still eroding and transporting and then depositing in the lower course. Then your 1.2.7, name the landform that is likely to form from the sand deposit at the river mouth. Remember, this is a sand banks or a delta because it's at the river mouth. Then we're looking at our question 3. Question 3, remember, it is your section B where you will find your map work questions. So the map that you are going to use, it's the map of Mossel Bay. And also, if your school doesn't have a copy of this map, do not worry because the pictures are also included of this map. So likewise, the examiner will give you the map of South Africa, and then they will locate or the allocation of the area that is in question or in study. So we are given a Mossel Bay there. By now, you're supposed to know where is this Mossel Bay located, as you can see in the map of South Africa there. And then next, you will be given a general information of that area so that you can be able to go through that general information because you'll be familiar with the area, what is happening in that area, and some of the answers you will find that it is within the general information. So I'm going to give you 3 3 minutes to read through the general information on your own, and then after 3 minutes, we'll be able to start with our questions. Looking there at our first question, you will refer to block A4 and B4 on the topographic map. So you are given your A4 and A5 on the topographic map. As I've said, the pictures will be included so that you see what we are talking about. Your 3.1.1, the Hartsbond River in blocks A4 and B4 on the topographic map is in which course? Is it the upper course, middle course, lower course, or U? Remember, you are given the picture of this A4 and B4. So now you need to identify this river is on which course. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and then after 2 minutes, we will be able to do the solution. Right? Looking there at our solution, so it's in the lower course. So what makes you to think that this is a lower course? You will see that this is next to the ocean. Remember, next to the ocean, and also we're looking at the contour lines that are very far. If the contour lines are very far, it means also there is a gentle slope. You remember that the lower course is in the gentle slope, and it's in the river mouth where it's going to end, and then it will enter the ocean or the sea. So these are the things that you point out in the map so that you can see on which course. So therefore, it's in the lower course. Then we're looking at our second question. You're still referring to your block A and block AB on the topographic map, then you give an evidence to support your answer. Why were you saying it's in the lower course? We already mentioned that it is the azimuthally or proximately to the ocean. It is closer to the ocean. If it's closer to the ocean, it's then give us an indication that it's in the river mouth where the river is ending, and it will now be in the ocean. And the river is wider. Remember why wider? Because of the position that will also make the river to be wider. We are looking at the river that is meandering. As you can see there are evidence of the river that is meandering. And also, we're looking at the evidence of deposition. So the evidence of deposition is also there in the map. Then in our second or our third question, you refer to block A3 on the orthophoto map. The slope found between 8 and 9, there is 8 and there is 9. In block A3, is it a concave? Is it a convex? A, B, is it a concave? C, is it a uniform? Then D, is it a terrestrial? Remember, you use the contour lines as well as the shape to identify the type of a slope. I'm going to give you another 2 minutes, and then after 2 minutes, we will be able to do the solution. Right? Looking there at our solution, the slope found at number 8 as well as 9 in block A3, it is a convex. So why a convex? We are looking at the contour line. The shape of the contour line, they are upper. They are gentle at the beginning and then closer at the end. And also looking at the upper shape. So therefore, it becomes a convex. So you know that you identify using your contour lines. If there were contour lines in a concave, they were supposed to be a closer at the bottom and the shape in a normal shape and be gentle in the upper slope. So our next question, you're still referring to block A3 on the orthophoto map. Then now you are giving an evidence. So the evidence we've already given. What evidence did we give? the contour lines are far apart at the high line, the contour lines, they are far apart at the high line, which is the top area at number 8. As you can see, they are far apart. Then as you move to number 9, they are now closer together at the low lying area, which is at the bottom, which is 9. So therefore, that is our evidence. Then your figure 3.3. Figure 3.3, remember that's where you will get questions from your GIS. So you refer to the image A and B of the school in a Mossel Bay. So here is the picture A and here is the picture B. So let's see what questions do we have. Your 3.3.1, image A or B are stored as pixels or as symbols. Picture A or B. Remember again, you need to choose, is it A or is it B? Not answer yes or no, because we need to know which image. Is it image A and B? Are they stored as pixels or as a symbol? So you need to choose as you see, is this a symbol or is this a pixels? Then your 3.3.2, which image? Which image, A or B? Again, it's not a no, it's not a yes, but which image, A or B, has a higher resolution? So you need to identify A and then identify B so that you can be able to decide which one has a higher resolution between A and B. Then 3.3.3, you need to give a reason for your answer. If you are saying A, why A? If you are saying B, why B? So it's just 1 mark, and then here it's 1 mark answer that will give you 2 marks. Then your 3.3.4, you define the concept data layer. As you are defining, remember you give a full explanation, so 1 times 2. Then 3.3.5, how will the drainage data layer encourage crop farming in the area? So I'm going to give you 7 minutes to work on these 5 questions, and then after 7 minutes, we will be able to do our solutions. So likewise, please make sure that you write your responses down so that afterwards you will be able to mark yourself when you are doing the corrections. Right? Looking there at our first question, the image A or B are stored as, they are stored as a pixels. You will remember that if it was a symbol, they were going to put S as in the topographic map, because it represents the school. So they are given or they are stored as the pixels because you can identify without even looking that it is a school. Then your 3.3.2, which image A or B has a higher resolution? It is A. So why are you saying A in question 3.3.3? Because there is a high amount of pixels and it has a more clarity. As you can see that B is a bit blurry, and also it is more visible. As you can see that A is the one that has a quality or the clear quality of the picture. Then your 3.3.4, you define the concept data layering. Remember, there are so many ways that you can put this. It's a layer of information. So based on the theme. So what theme? We are looking at the drainage layer with the information of all the water sources. Sometimes it's not only the drainage layer, maybe it can be a data layers that they can use in order for them to identify the location of the airports where there is a flat area and there is an availability of space. So in short, it's a layer of information, as we are saying data layer. So we can use the data layer to identify whether the crop farming will be appropriate in that area. Or maybe, as I've said, the airport, if you want to build an airport, is it appropriate in that area using a data layers? Then your 3.3.5, how will the drainage data layer encourage crop farming in the area? So number one, the supply of water for irrigation. You'll remember for crop farming, you need water to irrigate your crops. And then also we're looking at the layer that will supply information on water supply for irrigation or for cultivation. Or one can say because there is no need for water infrastructure like pipelines, your furrows, as well as your irrigation, because it is next to the river. So those are the ones that we can use. So to summarize on what we have learned so far, remember we have learned to identify the structure for paper 1. We have also learned some examination tips that will be helpful to you during your exam. And then also we have learned how to answer the questions based on your climate as well as your weather questions. We have looked into your geomorphology questions. And then lastly, we have looked into your map work questions. So we have came to an end of our lesson today. And to give you the preview of our next lesson. In the preview of our next lesson, we will still be focusing on our final exam preparation based on your paper 1, because we still need to do more of other topics that we did not cover today. So we have came to an end of our lesson today. Hopefully we have enjoyed the lesson, but most of all, I hope we have learned. Thank you and stay tuned for the next lesson.